Hello, welcome to the Beyond the Questions podcast, because every great conversation starts with a question. We're having real conversations about life with life coaches, and we are anticipating another great episode. So get ready and let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Questions. I'm Ericka, one of our 4 wonderful coaches today, and today we are going to be discussing why is change so hard? Of course, before we get into this, we're all going to introduce ourselves here a little bit so you know a little bit about who we are. So first, my mission is to support women who have experienced trauma by coaching and helping them through grief, healing, relationship challenges, and personal growth, to provide a safe space for them to walk through these challenges. These women may have no security, no safety, not a lot of trust, and potentially an unsupportive community. As a woman who has experienced this kind of trauma, I chose to educate myself and get my coaching certification and be able to walk alongside of women who need this kind of compassionate support. TQ, can you tell our listeners a little bit about what you do?
Absolutely. My name is TQ or Twan. I run TQ Coaching Solutions, and with that company, we coach to try to help you if you've got self-doubt, fear, running into inaction, you've got some dream that you have that you're going, man, I just can't get over the hump, things get in the way. That's what we want to do. We want to walk with you through that, try to help you get over those hurdles or through those hurdles however we can so that you can see that dream become reality. So yeah, that's what I do.
Beautiful. And Kelly?
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Kellie Greco. I am the founder and what I like to call Chief Pivot Officer of a company called Purposeful Pivot. And my mission is to help accomplished women experiencing some kind of corporate or professional burnout to transition to their what's next with clarity and purpose. And I do that with one-on-one coaching, group coaching. I'm planning retreats this year, a lot of different ways, and just trying to help women get through those transitions fast.
Jason.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in again to Beyond the Questions. It's good to be here with you today. I'm the owner and founder of Jason Roden Coaching, and I help people unleash their potential, ignite their passion, and awaken their purpose. I do that in both life and leadership coaching settings. So that's in personal or business. And then I also am certified in emotional intelligence coaching. So helping you understand how you show up in the room and how you navigate emotions that arise throughout the day. So it's great to be here with everybody today.
Thank you all. Okay, so why is change so gosh darn hard? I'd like to start out, right? Like you guys are laughing because it's true.
It is.
So I want to start out with a quote by James Baldwin. It's, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." Something to ponder on, right? It is hard to face some things. Is it the change itself? Is it the transition, the in-between, maybe the unknown? Maybe there's like not a willingness or no desire to change, or how does one get from here to there? Where is there? Is there an actual end point? Do we need to change? These are all questions.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
All right. So have you guys heard of, I'm going to tell you 2 movies, Love and Monsters or the children's movie Sea Beast? Oh, man. Not
No
again.
and no.
Well, my kids are almost grown, so I'm out of the kid movie things, and so
Okay, well, I'll go.
tell us about it. We
Tell
want to
us
know.
You
why
want me
you
to hear
brought
about
these up.
both?
We want to know.
Okay.
Whatever you want to tell us. Tell us.
What do
Let's
you have
in.
in common?
I could do both. Well, first, I'll do Sea Beast. I actually really appreciate this movie, which I see it is about change. And I actually, a long time ago when it came out, wrote a beautiful letter to, I think it was the writer, because I was just so moved at like the understory in this. It's basically about the whole society is living in a certain way, which it's actually a lie, and they need to change. Well, that would just change everything that they do. And it's this courage by this little girl and then one dragon hunter who see that this needs to change, and then they bring that to other people. While it just changes everything that they do. They have to open the eyes of everybody else. So
Is this the
it's
kids' version of the Matrix?
no,
I feel like you just
it's
described a kid's
it
Matrix.
is not. It is not.
Like there's a false reality. We all just have to get used to it.
No, I like these kind of movies. It's fun to explain to kids, like, okay, here, this is like what's happening here. They see the cute film and they may or may not know. I feel like depending as they get older, they can see these things. And then, okay, just this Love and Monsters. It is a funny movie, guys. If you want to watch, just, I don't know, if you like the end of the world type movies, or it always comes out again around Valentine's Day because it's like maybe a Valentine's Day movie. Anyways, this one is also about change. And this guy, it's the end of the world. They're all underground. And he's like, I don't want to be underground here anymore. I want to go find my girlfriend that I used to know before the world had ended this way. And it's really hard for him. And he has to go out and then learn how to do all of these things. And along the way, he meets some people that help him. And then he gets there. And then it's not exactly what he thought, while it's more about this journey. So it was really just neat how it was like he went out for love, but then he realized it was bigger than that. Again, nobody knows my references, but this is hilarious. While I was preparing for this episode, I did realize so many movies are about change. I think you guys can acknowledge that. And I figured because, throughout life, we go through so many changes. So, like I started with, let's just get a little curious about change. The definition of change, straight from good old Google, of course, references the Oxford Language Dictionary, is to make someone or something different, to alter or modify. That's it. Simple. The definition is just this simple thing, yet as we agreed at the beginning, change is not simple. So in your experiences, guys, for what reasons do you see while people's brains resist change?
Well, patterns are peaceful. If I know kind of what to expect, I can kind of be at ease, float with it. I know kind of what things are coming. And then, I'm coasting. But change, that brings chaos into the mix. Something's going to happen I didn't expect. Something jumps out there. So it's like when my family says this, that they think I'm a ninja because they don't ever hear me coming. And so when I'm walking in the house, if I don't happen to warn them, hey, I'm in the room and they didn't see me, they jump out of their skin. I'm like, what do you mean? Why are you so scared? There's people who live here. Somebody's going to be there. Anyhow, the whole point is that change, what they were expecting, was different. And then it just kind of blew up. So I think that's one of the things why our brains resist that change, because patterns feel peaceful.
Well, and then too, I think our brains are wired to protect us, right? So they do whatever is comfortable for us, and change is never comfortable. So I think automatically your brain defaults to keep you comfortable, keep you safe. And if you do nothing, at least, you're not getting hurt, nothing's happening, and it's hard. You have to, like TQ said, it's habits. And if you don't have new habits, it's going to go to the old ones, which is to do nothing. So it's scientific, actually.
And that is if you've grown accustomed to those patterns. Like if it's a bad pattern, you want to get out of that pretty quick. Or if it's something that's negative, you're like, okay, I got to figure that out. But
hopefully,
if no one's like really hurting, even sometimes if it's just slightly uncomfortable, then we're like, it is what it is. I'll go with it if I don't have to shake the boat too much.
And I was going to say, I actually like change. So I think there are those people who initiate change, bring change. I get bored if things don't change. But as TQ was talking, I was thinking about changes that are forced upon us, or those surprise changes. Those are the ones when you don't see it coming, when you kind of know, like if you're in an organization, right, and you see the organization is starting to slip or things are starting to get stale and you've got to make some changes. That's hard, right? Some people are like, no, we just want to stay the same way. We like our traditions, right? But when you have no clue that change is coming, like Ninja TQ walks into the room on you and you don't know he's there, that is a startling process. And I think those are the changes that are really hard to deal with. And I wonder if in our brains we compartmentalize all change as that startling change. So then every time we think about it, we go back to this place of where it was like, that came out of the blue. I don't want to go through that again.
Right.
Or even if you know it's coming, I feel like the longer you know there's a change coming, but you don't know what's on the other side of it, your brain makes it bigger than it needs to be, right? Like the anticipation, I think, of change can be worse than the change itself. So it's best to just do it because otherwise you're going to sit there and make it into this huge thing where it might not have been.
Just rip off that Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes that hurts though. And Kelly, I think you mentioned it's hard. So what's hard about it really? Like TQ, you said, people are comfortable and they have to change these patterns. So what makes it hard?
I think it's the unknown, right? And then fear starts to take over. And once fear takes over, because you don't know what's on the other side of this change, that just becomes really scary. Then you just want to stay in place and say, well, I think it comes down to the fear of staying the same is greater than the fear of changing. And once you get to that point on like the teeter-totter, you can like make the change because staying the same is worse. So sometimes I think a lot of it comes down to fear and just the unknown.
I think one of the things that makes change hard is when we don't grieve the loss. So I think a lot of times we get so worked up about it, we make this change, and then we're just supposed to forget everything that happened before the change, right?
Right.
And we have, Kelly, I love that mental conversation we have in our heads where we just tell ourselves how bad it's going to be. Like, I think that's a natural thing that all of us do. But then we never pause to grieve what's now gone. Or if we're the one leading the change, we don't give those around us space to grieve what they've lost. Because every change brings loss. Loss of familiarity, maybe a loss of relationship, loss of a vision that now we're going a different direction. But if we would just allow ourselves to grieve that loss and then move forward, I wonder if change would be as scary.
But then too, change can be really good and exciting. So a lot of it might come down to your mindset, right? I mean, maybe you're moving and you're getting a new house and how exciting, or, maybe you're getting a new job and that's exciting. It's change, but it's exciting. So a lot of it, I think too, comes down to how you view change, where your mindset is and how you approach it. You kind of, what is it? Where the focus goes, the energy flows. If you focus on the good things that the change could bring and put your energies towards it, then it makes, I think, change a little more doable. And
I want to go back to what you were talking about, Jason, even in the grief, right? Are we taught how to grieve these small things that are changes, even if they're a perceived change that might not happen? Like as society, maybe Western society, I can't speak for other because I only know this one.
Taught? No, we're told to just get over it. Yeah. Put in your big girl panties. Get it done. Those are the phrases I'm used to hearing, right?
Rub some dirt on it.
Just figure it out. We're
Suck
moving
it
on.
Did you say your dad used to say, Ericka?
Put a keel mark on it.
Put a keel mark
There
on
it
it. Move
is.
on.
I learned so much on these podcasts. Things I never gotta say. Movies, like phrases now, they're all coming out.
Well, and I want to speak to that grief just for a moment. And when you're going through changes that are unknown, it is a learned, right? TQ, you said we're not taught how to grieve these things. I feel like we do know how to grieve one thing good in our society, while we don't know how to grieve these little things. And going through my process of betrayal and healing, when I had to move, which of course this wasn't planned. And like you said, Jason, it was a shock and surprise. So like all of these things are changes that I never saw coming. And so something that was really big for me and might seem small, I had to grieve not being able to pick blackberries. And right. But I had also practiced grieving a lot of things. And I knew that that was something very important for me because I had access to ample blackberry bushes on my property. We would go out there and pick and pick. I'd put on my muck boots and jeans and long sleeves and gloves because otherwise you just get poked and then your fingers are all purple and black. But like I had to grieve because then I could no longer have all of these, like this access to what I used to have access to.
I appreciate you bringing up that, because who thinks, "Oh, I'm going to miss blackberries," right? And when grief comes up, sometimes it comes up in the most things we could not have expected. Sometimes you even feel kind of guilty about, like, why am I having such a hard time with this? These are blackberries. You know what I'm saying? But with those things, you said you'd get out there. It sounds like your family would be out there, and that was just
Mhm.
it becomes something that you've done that is emotionally deep. And man, now I don't have that access to that. We can't do that anymore. Where are we going to be able to get all those things start to come up? So that's eye-opening what you just said there.
Yes. Well, I'm glad that you could see it that way too. And go ahead, Jason.
It makes me think. So taking your BlackBerry story and TQ's statement about we're not taught to do this, we just stuff it, right? Or we rub some dirt on it and move on. I think about, so my parents are divorced too. I will never forget the night at 6 years old that my dad told me he was leaving. And so we're sitting around the dining room table. I can still picture this. And my first question was, and this is ridiculous as a 47-year-old man, but my first question was, are we still going to get to go to the dirt track races? Because that's what we did on Friday night. And that was my awareness that this change was going to bring grief. It was going to bring transition and change. I didn't have to be taught that. I knew that. At 6, I knew that. And so I wonder, to Ericka, your question was, are we taught to grieve? I think we know how to grieve. We're taught how not to. We're taught to stuff it and fake it because nobody else has time for your problems. And so just keep moving on. And so it just kind of hit me when you were talking about blackberries. I'm like, yeah, who cares when your parents are getting a divorce if you can go watch a dirt track race? I'm sorry, I grew up in West Virginia, just bear with me. But like, it was a big deal to me in that moment because that was the change I was going to have to go through, or the grief I may or may not have to experience. But I think kids get that. I'm not sure adults do.
Well, and the underlying message there too, it wasn't the dirt track that you were concerned about. It was the time with your dad,
Yeah,
right? And so
absolutely it
that's,
was.
sometimes we put it on the thing or whatever the activity is. But in reality, you're asking your dad, am I still going to see you and get time with you?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
I didn't know that at 6, but yeah, that's exactly
yeah,
what I was doing. Yeah.
exactly.
First of all, I just need to take a deep breath because I could feel all of that in my gut. And I'm just
Mm.
like, whoo. And I see like all of these things, like even in my own kids, that I'm trying to give them space to be able to grieve and do all of this. Because I've mentioned this to somebody just the other day. I'm like, I'm not the only one going through this.
Mm.
So are they. And like, they didn't even understand. I'm like, no, so are the children. They are affected too. So I just needed to take a deep breath. Okay.
And they do for sure understand.
Yes, absolutely they do.
Yeah.
So just, can you guys, sorry, that one just really hit me.
Take your time. Do what you need to do. It's all good.
It's all right. I can move forward. I can feel it and I can process it later. Can you guys share a time when it felt impossible to like make it through the change, or if you've witnessed this in somebody?
That's a tough one. I mean, my story was, my story, leaving a corporate position, trying to figure out what's next, just floundered for a year, didn't know what I was going to do. And I thought, well, I'm never going to come out of this. I've lost everything that I had because I left a good job. Not going to be successful again. Like I thought it was impossible but yet I'm like, well, I got to do something. I can't stay still. So I just kept trying to learn and find new things and explore. And fortunately I did. So, I mean, obviously that all turned out great because now I found what I'm supposed to be doing. But in a client episode I was talking to at one point, I was working with a client who's been at the same company for years, like 20 years or so. And she wants to do something completely different, but doesn't know what. Right. And every time I'd ask her a question, she would answer it in the terminology of her company. And she couldn't think for herself. And I kept, pushing at her and just trying to bring out of her herself, because somewhere along the way, she lost herself. And every time she answered a question, it was just in this vernacular of her company. And it took a while, but, we worked through it. And finally, she just kept finding more and more of herself. And I have to give her credit. She pushed through it. I didn't let her talk about her company at all. She wasn't allowed to use any of the terminology, the name of the company, anything. She finally and slowly started finding herself in her own words. So I think it was a nice example of somebody that pushed through, found their alternate goal and what they want to do next. So just a unique, fun story that it took a while, but she got there. So that's an example.
Yeah. And just kind of what I hear you saying in this too is she didn't do it alone. And this is a story I wanted to share. So personally with me, after my first child, I had severe postpartum depression. And I vividly remember thinking I would never be free of these terrible thoughts that keep coming in to my brain. Well, each day I still woke up, sleep is different in infancy, but, I continued to care for my baby and myself the best that I could at the time. And what I realized later, too, is this process didn't happen alone. I eventually told my spouse at the time and was very tender with me and, was able to then work through it. And just that, somebody being in those, really hard moments when it feels impossible. So, how do the people around us influence our ability to change?
It's a lot easier to take a step forward towards something new when you know there's somebody behind you to catch you if you fall, push you when you're scared, walk beside you, maybe not literally hold your hand, but you know what I'm saying? Like hold your hand through the process. I think it's one of the reasons I think about when you said it felt impossible. I feel very blessed in life to have always been surrounded by a group of people. Now, that comes with some difficulty too, because when those people leave, you do a lot of grieving, whether they pass on or that life situations happen and you just lose contact or whatever. I think I adapt to change as well as I do because of the people around me. Not because they're like, oh yeah, you got to make changes. You got to change all the time. But because they're there as a support system. And to just kind of say, we're here. I think the best ones are the ones who are able to offer advice or ask a question with no expectation that you listen or do what they say. But they're there to bounce ideas, to be that conversation partner and to interact. So I think change happens or is made easier because of the people around you.
Absolutely. I think you just hit that one. What is it? Also the saying, nail on the head. And I feel like that is correct, right?
Keel mark, but not nail on the head.
It felt like I was saying it backwards for some reason. I don't know.
Having a good group around you influences you to help you, but also I know sometimes when people have these dreams and ideas that they're going after, depending on what their circle is, they may have to be very selective about who they share that with, because there are some who just love to rain on everyone's parade, and they will, whatever, you've got the idea, you obviously don't know all the ins and outs of it. None of us ever really do. They throw up all the obstacles or worse yet, you say what you're into and they go,
That's cute.
okay. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't say anything verbally, but with their whole body language and everything else, it was an obvious, that's the worst idea I've ever heard. I can't believe you're doing that. And so having whoever that group of people is around you, they can positively affect you or negatively affect you. Whatever faith you had in, I think I can do this. If we're not careful, their lack of faith could shape your own and what you think you're able to do or how you're going to get through it.
Yeah, I like to say you either have promoters or detractors in your corner, and you're best to surround yourself with those promoters, right, to help push you forward.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I will say that's not the same as yes men. People who are just there. Oh, you're the best, right? All
Yeah.
with no substance behind it. The questions are okay. I invite the questions when people I know are for me. And some of those questions will challenge where I'm headed, maybe shift what I'm trying to do, but they're not there just to kill the whole momentum. They're not there to shoot the dream in the head and go, okay, find something else.
Excuse me. And it kind of relates back to, right, this as far as change. Some people, like you mentioned, don't understand why I had to grieve the blackberries. So I'm not gonna share it with them, right? If they're like, What do you even mean grieve blackberry?" I'm just gonna leave it there. They don't have the space to understand that. And I know whether the people in my corner or not, it's just that I need to recognize that for my own self, for my own healing through the changes that I'm going through, right? And with that being said, right? Change is a process. And in my experience, doesn't always go as smooth as silk. And we fail sometimes. So, what role do you guys think failure plays in this change process?
It's
Man,
always
I'm
gonna
giving you
be
guys
there.
hard questions.
I know, I'm, like, thinking it's always gonna be there. You can never, be successful 100% of the time. So, again, I think a lot of this goes back to mindset. You have to approach a failure as a learning experience and then move on. If you sit there and dwell in it, you're just gonna spiral, and then, yeah, then the change isn't gonna be good. So, I mean, I think we all go nobody wants to have a failure, but I think everybody has to because that's the only way you grow and learn.
Yeah, failure is information. It lets you know, okay, I was going this way and that didn't work. And so if you can objectively, which this is the hard part, because I don't want to be objective, I start putting myself in the whole equation and start self-debasing and wonder why I even got started to do this to begin with. But if I can pull myself out of it and go, okay, what went wrong here? What are some changes that we can make to go towards the dream, maybe avoid this next time? But you got to have the mindset that there's still a next time. Like, I'm still going after this. I'm still moving ahead. And so if I can go, okay, that just taught me something, glean those things out of it and put them in for wherever the next thing is, I think that's a great way to look at failure. But it takes some time to do that and take some training because it's not the easiest thing to do for sure.
Well, and I think it goes back to that team. It's easier to fail when there's a team to catch you.
Yeah.
When somebody's there, when you start down that rabbit hole, TQ, of all the negative self-talk and and I was dumb for doing this, somebody who you respect, who loves you and cares for you enough to say, none of that's true. This was worth the journey. This was worth what have you learned here? And then can kind of turn your eyes in a different direction, can help you see something differently. And then the other thing I think is we spend way too much time looking at everybody else's successes and trying to measure ourselves to those.
Right.
And so then if you succeed, let's say you came back on and you're like, hey guys, guess what? I just made buku dollars in coaching this last month. I got 50 contracts and it's going great. And we're all sitting here like, well, that was great. I didn't get 50 contracts this month. I'm going to be super excited for Ericka. And then I'm going to get off the call and be like, my life's miserable. Right? But it's not about that comparison game. I'm still moving forward. And sometimes those failures are what actually push us forward. Now, that's not easy to hear in the moment. And if someone else says that to you, sometimes that makes you want to like become violent with them. But I think there's some truth to that realization that we have to know and we have to understand. Just because I failed here doesn't mean I won't succeed over here. And so what do I learn and how do I turn that failure into an opportunity? And I don't think that's just positive talk. That's a legitimate way of looking at that failure as we navigate through those things.
Absolutely. And kind of like you mentioned too, Jason, in this change and grief, right? As a child, there are these things and we like ask these questions to ourselves and we don't fully understand. like the meaning of this. So for a moment, if you guys could be a little bit vulnerable, if you would go back and tell your younger self, what would you tell your younger self about embracing change? Basically, so they could carry that through, their life journey.
I would tell my younger self that it's not going to go as you expect. That's okay. Sometimes it's going to be better. Sometimes it's going to be worse. But the journey is worth who you're becoming. You are going to be different. The outcome, it's probably not what you're imagining now, but you're going to be better. And that's what's worth the trip.
So I'm going to share one that I had wrote up just because for my circumstances, right? I know that I didn't know this was going to happen to me. So I would want to tell her, this young girl, it's okay to kick some people to the curb. They're not on the same path as you, honey. And I would give her a big old hug and I would tell her to embrace all the tears and wear those scars on her heart. No warrior ever goes through a battle without scars. And when your crown falls off and you fall down again and again and again, you pick that crown up because it still belongs to you. You put it back on your head, and as you stand up straight, even if it's hard, you stand up different, you stand up changed, you stand up knowing who you really are. You stand up a transformed woman.
Well said.
Nice.
Well, now I don't have anything to say.
I
mean,
know,
I
I'm
had some
clue
before
now.
that, but I'm not
Forget
saying
it.
it now.
That's
The only
so
thing,
glad
the
I
only
went
thing that
first.
needed was eat the blackberries. I'm just saying, it's got to be in there. But other than that, no, I think Eric, in all seriousness, Eric, I think that's beautiful. I think it speaks to identity and it speaks to who you really are, no matter what life throws at you. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, you're welcome. And thank you. So prior to us closing out here, I wanted to share another movie. Just kidding, guys. I remembered that this is a coaching podcast, not a movie review podcast. So I want to leave our listeners with this. And I think you guys might have heard of Kintsugi. Okay, wow, I stumped you guys again. Okay, well, since you guys have not heard of it, maybe some of our listeners have also not heard of it. It is a very unique Japanese form of art where pottery is restored or repaired using, and I apologize to anyone for the mispronunciation of this word, it is urushi, which is a natural bond or lacquer. So when the product is finished, the changed product is new. It's even more beautiful and touching than it was before. And so there's some things about this that most people do not know actually. So urushi, the application process must be done with awareness, caution, and just being very careful because when urushi is wet, it is toxic, to our skin. You can't touch it. It's very toxic. The other thing is how long it takes to cure. It may look or even feel dry after about 24 hours, while it's not. It's finally cured after several months, and there are multiple factors that affect the cure time. So it's not the same time every time. Yet once it is repaired, the beauty in this piece is beautiful. It's water resistant, heat resistant, chemical resistant, and you can still eat off of it as well. It's food safe.
That's cool.
Yeah. Look
Yeah.
it up, you guys. You should. I should have got a little thing to show, but I did not have that. It's actually really beautiful, and most people don't know those details about it. So it's really neat to see this change process does take a lot, even though it may seem simple. So listeners, we just thank you for joining us and getting curious about change. And we just want you to remember that all of our contact information is listed below if you'd like to reach out to any one of us. And if you liked what you heard, please like and subscribe and share it with a friend. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Questions, and we hope you'll join us next time. Bye.
And make sure to turn in next week for more big words from Ericka. I'm just saying we're back to Erica's big words.
Small word.
See you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beyond the Questions. Be sure to subscribe so that you can stay up to date concerning future episodes. And if you would like to connect with any of the hosts on Beyond the Questions, their contact info is linked in the description below. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you on the next episode of Beyond the Questions.